Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here today. Let me just note that both of our thoughts are obviously with our colleague and those others who were shot and terrorized on a baseball field not far from here. Ironically, we were set that day to hold a hearing on the Capitol Police's budget and the Capitol Security budget, and that hearing now will be even more important. I appreciate the Chairman's commitment to moving forward with that. Glad to have your testimony here today. I share the Chairman's interest. I will just note that GAO has been an indispensable partner to those of us who think it's our mission to be very careful with the dollars that our taxpayers send to Washington. Since 2006, GAO has helped provide $63 billion in benefits for the government. That's a rate of return that investors in my state would love, $112 in savings for every dollar invested in GAO. So it's a pretty good use of our taxpayer dollars to put it into your operations to keep spending honest. Really glad to have Dr. Hall here today. I got to visit with him yesterday at GAO. And Mr. Chairman, I think it's at CBO, it's really important to have CBO here today. I'll just express my deep concern about the actions of the majority party in the House and the Senate with respect to the continued relevance and independence of the Congressional Budget Office. We don't just rely on CBO. Our constituents rely on CBO. The only way that we're able to have a real meaningful debate in this country about the impact of legislation that affects people's lives is because of the nonpartisan analysis that CBO provides us. The House health care bill, which was rammed through with almost no public debate, with no time for any legislator to read that piece of legislation, was done so without a CBO score. And so hundreds of members of Congress voted on a piece of legislation that reorders 1/5 of the American economy, that, as we eventually found out, strips health care from up to 23 million Americans without a nonpartisan analysis. And for those of us who believe in CBO, I think there's a deliberate campaign to try to reduce its relevance, because why have CBO if you are not going to ask it to give its opinion on a piece of legislation that is that big and that sweeping ahead of the vote? Similarly, we are headed towards a potential debate and vote on a piece of legislation next week that is equally sweeping, that none of us have seen, that theoretically CBO is working on today, but may release their analysis with only a handful of hours or days prior to the vote. That is, if the Senate majority decides to wait for their analysis before the vote. In addition, leading up to CBO's analysis of the House bill, there were some very sharp attacks on CBO from members of Congress, attacks that got a little bit too personal at times. We should be investing in CBO's relevance by demanding that on major pieces of legislation we see a CBO score before we vote, and we should refrain from compromising CBO's nonpartisanship and independence by trying to frame them in a political context. So I think it's a really important moment for both of you to be here, in particular Dr. Hall, and I look forward to their testimony.